And happy Friday and good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Salcedo Show here on Newsmax TV. It's been a harrowing week for Americans across the fruited plain, from Oregon to Texas. Americans have come to a realization. When the chips are down, the federal government, an entity that has been confiscating ever-growing chunks of money from our checks, was not there for us. On my radio show today, my listeners wondered out loud, where's all the federal aid? Federal aid that we have been paying for low these many decades. Many are coming to the conclusion that it's best to keep our money and resources close to home, where we can make sure it's not being, wasted. According to Joe Biden's mouthpiece, Jen Psaki, one of the few members of our society who can use a gay slur and get away with it, she says the feds are sending blankets, generators, and supplies to Texas. Millions of families spent several nights in sub-freezing temperatures with no power. None of those we talked to has seen a blanket, much less a generator or unnamed supplies. Now, this is nothing new. Americans can't rely on a bloated and unresponsive federal government. That brings up another thought. Just what are elected politicians doing with all of that money they confiscate from our family budgets? One begins to think there's a little overhead somewhere in the system, right? These are the shortcomings of collectivist thought. Equally wanting are the economic and government systems that ooze from collectivism. It's why real Americans oppose a system where elites are well taken care of, but the people are left to suffer. What's also true is that socialists and communists can never deliver on their promises. They always fail where it counts. They always fail. We, the people. If only we had a political party that was unified in opposition to socialism's backward and destructive policies. That leads me to this. The Republicans declare war on Trump supporters. That's the battle cry we put forth in tonight's preamble. Because of the 100% unnecessary tragedy in Texas, I was unable to address President Donald Trump's second acquittal from the second fake impeachment. The socialists in the House completely ignored the text of the Constitution. They didn't allow President Trump to cross-examine witnesses. President Trump wasn't allowed due process rights. Now, we expect this behavior from totalitarians in the socialist left-wing party. But the left-wing extremists were joined by leaders of the Republican Party, 10 from the House and 7 in the Senate. Both parties affirmed that the Constitution is meaningless so long as childish politicians need to settle a political score against their common enemy, President Trump and his 75 million voters. President Trump won more support than any other incumbent in history. He did so by pledging to oppose anti-American socialism, stand up to communist China's attacks on America, and return America to a pro-American footing at home and in our foreign policy. In 2016, President Trump dragged a limp-noodle GOP over the finish line, giving the GOP control over the Congress and the presidency. Republican leaders, who then lacked leadership, then squandered their opportunity to make lasting change by seeking to actually protect left-wingers in the Obama administration from ever facing justice for the laws they broke in Obama's 8-year occupation of the Oval Office. After the non-impeachment was done, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell sought to make sure that President Trump nor anyone else with an America First agenda could ever rise to challenge the D.C. establishment ever again.
President Trump is still liable for everything he did while he was in office as an ordinary citizen. Unless the statute of limitations is run, still liable for everything he did while he was in office. Didn't get away with anything yet. We have a criminal justice system in this country. We have civil litigation. And former presidents are not immune from being accountable by either one.
McConnell's suggestion that President Trump broke any law is absurd on its face. We've given McConnell credit for his work on judges, and to praise God, it's an effort that pays off in protecting us from socialism in ways that the GOP can no longer or will no longer do. But McConnell's betrayal of the rule of law, not to mention Trump and the conservative movement, was nothing short of a declaration of war on us. McConnell doesn't want Trump in his Republican Party, and frankly, he doesn't want the 75 million Trump supporters there either. You all have forgotten your place as far as the minority leader is concerned. Lindsey Graham seems to know and understand what McConnell's declaration of war actually means.
Now, I think Senator McConnell's speech, he got a load off his chest, obviously, but unfortunately, he put a load on the back of Republicans. That speech you will see in 2022 campaigns. I would imagine if you're a Republican running in Arizona or Georgia or New Hampshire, where we have a chance to take back the Senate, they may be playing Senator McConnell's speech and asking you about it as a candidate. And I imagine if you're an incumbent Republican, there are going to be people asking you, will you support Senator McConnell in the future?
GOP betrayal of conservatives will have a lasting impact on fundraising and will undermine the GOP brand, perhaps irrevocably. McConnell is so far out of touch, he tried to claim that the Senate somehow saved the Republic by defeating an impeachment that was illegal from the start.
I believe the Senate was right not to grab power the Constitution doesn't give us. And the Senate was right not to entertain some light-speed sham process to try to outrun the loss of jurisdiction.
But the majority of the Senate did just that. Every socialist Democrat and 7 Republicans voted to cast the Constitution aside in an effort to exact revenge on a man who disrupted their little elitist club. Here are the 7 Republicans who sided with socialists, ignoring the limits on their power in the Constitution. Republican Senators Richard Burr of North Carolina, Susan Collins of Maine, Bill Cassidy of Louisiana, Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, Mitt Romney of Utah, Ben Sasse of Nebraska, Pat Toomey of Pennsylvania. They joined the likes of Liz Cheney, Fred Upton, and Adam Kinzinger in the House, who betrayed our mutual compact. Their betrayal will have lasting and damaging consequences to our nation.
We've opened Pandora's box to future presidents, and if you use this model, I don't know how Kamala Harris doesn't get impeached if the Republicans take over the House, because she actually bailed out rioters, and one of the rioters went back to the streets and broke somebody's head open. So we've opened Pandora's box here, and I'm sad for the country.
Oh, whoa, wait. She did much more than that. Harris actually called for violence to continue in America's streets, something that President Trump never did.
They're not going to stop. They're not going to stop. And they're not, this is a movement, I'm telling you. They're not going to stop. And everyone beware, because they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop before Election Day in November, and they're not going to stop after Election Day. And that should be, everyone should take note of that on both levels, that they're not going to let up, and they should not.
Now, Harris doesn't have anything to worry about. She won't be brought up on impeachment charges if, and that's a big if the GOP wins the House ever again. Here's the reason why she has nothing to worry about. The GOP is populated with lawmakers like this. They don't violate the Constitution or uphold it to actually punish the guilty. These Republicans would never dream of holding Vice President Kamala Harris to the same standard they held President Trump. These, air quotes, leaders of the GOP are there to normalize the deviant and illegal behavior of Democrat socialists, not to oppose them. The only people who Ben Sasse and Mitt Romney and Mitch McConnell oppose is Trump and his 75 million voters. Sasse, McConnell, Romney, Cheney, Kinzinger, and the rest, they want you all to know it is their Republican Party. It never belonged to you. And you know what? As far as this conservative is concerned, it is your Republican Party, Mitch. It is your Republican Party, Adam Kinzinger, and you can have it. Those of us who believe in a government of, by, and for the people, we'll be looking elsewhere for an effective opposition party to the Democrat socialists.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news channel, now in more than 70 million homes. You can get Newsmax TV on your cable system or check your cable guide. And if your system doesn't carry Newsmax, call them, tell them you want Newsmax TV, because we're real news for real people.